Well, the book is called Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engagement. And our guest is Michael Rubin, the author. Good to have you with us. This book is talking all about really the fact that the world is at a tipping point and that we have so many danger zones in the world right now. Have we ever seen anything like the situation we're in now?
I really don't think we've seen anything like this. During the Cold War, we knew where our enemy was, where our enemy was coming from. Right now, we're dealing with any myriad regimes that simply could go off the charts at any point in time and any number of terrorist groups. In your book, you cite a number of countries: Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Pakistan, North Korea. It's almost a where do you start point. Which to you stands out as the most dangerous zone? The two most dangerous countries, in my view, are both North Korea and Iran. And what should actually scare us a great deal is when we look at the Iranian rhetoric, and I used to live in the Islamic Republic of Iran. I can read and speak a little bit of Persian. You can actually see their nuclear negotiators looking at North Korea as a model for where they want to go. That's something that every Western diplomat should take very, very seriously. I mean, we talk about Kim Jongun, you know, he's taken over the leadership. It seems to me, and I think to a lot of other people, that he's certainly trying to make his mark. He's the proverbial squeaky wheel. When do you get the sense that North Korea will truly try to make a mark physically, militarily speaking? Well, already they have. They've used diplomacy in order to amplify their power, to amplify their program up to the point where they're nuclear capable. They have nuclear weapons. That should worry us. They can hit Vancouver, they can hit the west coast of the United States. But one thing that Kim Jong-un has done, and what I tried to do in this book, is look at a pattern of behavior among these rogues. All too often they claim grievance in order to get the United States, to get Canada, to get Western Europe to make concessions, because our diplomats don't like being accused of doing something wrong. It's a pattern which they actively play on in order to take advantage of our culture. Do you think that political correctness of the Western nations is inevitably going to get into our way because we just don't want to be perceived as the world police? Absolutely. A combination of political correctness and moral equivalency, where too many of our diplomats will say, oh, this is just the way the Koreans act, or this is just the way the Iranians behave. They know what they're doing. The Iranians have equipped that they play chess while the West plays checkers, and they will take full advantage of that. Secretary of State John Kerry, of course, is in the midst of brokering a peace deal or some kind of peace deal to, I guess, take the nuclear capabilities away from Iran. Do you get the sense that this is just a lot of talk? Do you get the sense that Iran is manipulating the situation? Absolutely, Iran is manipulating the situation. They don't even try to hide it. This is what's truly frustrating. When you look at the Iranian rhetoric, Hassan Rouhani, for example, the Iranian president, who is at the forefront of the so-called diplomatic outreach, has actually given a speech back in 2005 where he went through the history of Iran's relations with the United States and said that Iran has come out victorious every single time because of what he called of a doctrine of surprise, where you lull the Americans into complacency and then you do what they're not expecting. What should worry us about this deal is that it is so secret and that it doesn't really do anything to stop the military aspects of Iran's nuclear program. Right, which they have said is weeks away, or they've, you know, said, threatened that they're very close to having nuclear capabilities. Do you get the sense that President Obama either doesn't know what to do about a little situation like Iran or simply can't do anything about it? But what I tried to do in this book, Dancing with the Devil, is outline the pattern of diplomacy with these rogue regimes. And one part of this pattern is that second-term presidencies, be it Ronald Reagan, be it Bill Clinton, be it George H.W. Bush or President Obama, will try to make this Hail Mary pass out to these rogues, and invariably we come out the worse for it. I think that's what President Obama is trying to do in order to cement his legacy, just like President George W. Bush tried to resolve the situation with North Korea, remove them from the state sponsor of terror list, and ultimately they became stronger for it. Will Israel inevitably have to protect itself? Well, ultimately, it's the job of any democracy to protect itself. That's why its leaders are elected. Unfortunately, we're putting Israel in an increasingly untenuous position It really is on the front line. And one other aspect which I tried to bring forward in this study of diplomacy with rogue regimes and terrorist groups is how, because of projection, because we want to assume that rogue leaders think like us, we downplay the importance of ideology. You got to look at the ideology of those in control of Iran, and it's really a genocidal ideology.
And of course, you've got the Syrian situation, basically in a civil war. We saw how President Obama handled that situation. Russia seems to be flexing its muscle again. Indeed, you're correct that we are in some interesting times.
Absolutely. I just came back from Syria about 2 weeks ago, and people on the ground in Syria couldn't fathom what the United States was doing, because on one hand, we seem to be reaching out to a terror-sponsoring regime, trying to bring in Bashar al-Assad from the cold, and on the other hand, those in the opposition with which we're now working tend to be among the most radical groups, even up to and including affiliation with al-Qaeda. That's not a good strategy.
The book is Dancing with the Devil. We thank you for joining us tonight, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you.